Awesome. Well, hi everyone. I'm Irene. I'm the co-founder and CEO of CHIO. And this is Kelly, our head of nutritional science. Um, Very quick as a intro, CHIO is a women's health nutrition program, and we have stage and symptom specific programs for everything from hormone balance, cycle support, PCOS, endometriosis, fertility, which is what we will be focused on today, prenatal, including gestation diabetes, and postpartum. And I'm going to hand it over to Kelly, who is going to walk through some of our favorite fertility dishes and why it's been curated that way.
Awesome. Thank you, Irene. So, CHIO is, as Irene mentioned, a really full-on, comprehensive, hand-delivered meal program, but nutrition program on top of that. And so we're going to walk through the meals that were sent to my home today. And then we are going to share, I have a different point of view of me preparing the meals, and I'll walk you through why each of these meals are specifically set up for fertility, for optimizing fertility through the nutrients that the foods carry, and even the way that we've prepared it following some traditional Chinese medicine principles. So kind of walk you through a live day of CHIO in a shortened version. And it's hard to choose from all the meals that we have because they're so delicious, but I hope that you feel, hungry and motivated to include some of these foods into your diet if you are trying to conceive or if you're keeping in mind for the future. So I'm going to pop on over to my other stage here. So here's how our meals are delivered. They're delivered completely sealed and labeled. They even have a QR code, which is really great, that you can scan and will read the nutrition facts for each of these labels. On the nutrition facts, you'll see like protein, carbohydrates, fiber. You'll also see the total fats, and then the total sugars. We are a program, we don't use any added refined sugars, so all whole foods based. And we really are so minimal on preservatives and additives as well, because we want it to be as accessible to everybody and for their dietary preferences. And we know that the more natural and whole the food is, the better the absorption of those nutrients. So that's why these are delivered maybe twice a week if you're on our full program. We're going to start off with breakfast. So you might see the back of my head a little bit, but I promise. Actually, I might just move you with me. So wait, actually, I'll keep you here. So for breakfast, we have one of the options is a strawberry mousse with almond granola. This is a sweeter breakfast. Again, we're looking at something that's not going to be added refined sugars, more so just the natural sugars coming from the fruit. And then we've added protein from this tofu in this meal to really increase your protein needs. Your protein needs when you're going through fertility and even in pregnancy do increase to really make sure that you can maintain muscle mass, because that's one of the things that does decrease in pregnancy. And it also helps regulate your blood sugar. Regulating your blood sugar is super important for ovulation and optimizing conception. So that's one of the reasons why all of our breakfast meals actually have a great amount of protein. And then this is another breakfast meal, which is what we're actually going to heat up. No, actually we're going to do the mousse. But the other breakfast meal is our Tranquility egg bites with sweet potato medley. And this has a garnish of avocado. So super focus on protein here, complex carbohydrates, specifically vitamin A coming from that sweet potato, and then healthy fats paired with that avocado. A balance of all macronutrients, so protein, carbohydrates, and fat, promote healthy blood sugar balance. Again, super important for conception and ovulation. And then on top of that, if we go into the micronutrients, you see lots of color here, lots of antioxidants and vitamins coming from the leafy greens, the cilantro, and all of those colorful fruits and vegetables. If we were to plate the first meal, which I have here is the strawberry protein mousse with almond granola. We're going to grab a bowl. They come ready to eat. So really all that you have to do is prepare it in a bowl that you would be eating. You can also eat it right out of the container. These are reheatable as well. The mousse we are not going to reheat because mousse is enjoyed chilled. But if you like to, you can enjoy it warmed up. So we're just going to pour this out here. If you do want to add some fresh fruit or strawberries to it, you're more than happy to. Again, the base here is tofu, so a plant-based source of protein. And then we have a granola. And we're going to add that on top. The granola is full of lots of oats, so fiber is here, as well as some seeds to help with promoting the mineral content in your diet. So a lot of us lack minerals in our diet, such as calcium, magnesium, potassium, and that's a really big effect on the regulation of your cycle. So from follicular phase to luteal phase, follicular being your first phase from day 1 of your period to ovulation, and then luteal phase being from ovulation to the next day of your period. We heavily rely on the transitions of estrogen and progesterone, and they use minerals actually to regulate and to metabolize. So we get a lot of those minerals from our seeds. So that would be breakfast. If you like to pair warm things with your breakfast, which a lot of us do, such as a warm beverage, Chio does come with a broth option. We recommend that you can start with your broth or your tonic, which is a tea. Here on your menu card, you'll see it's recommended to start with the tonic, and then the broth is in the middle of the day. Again, you can switch it up. There's no harm in doing that, but for today's purposes, I'll show you how we would prepare both. So we have the ginger turmeric broth, very anti-inflammatory. We want to reduce as much inflammation as possible during ovulation. And then we have the ginger goji tonic. If you're on a fertility program or hormone balance program, what we're looking for in your regulating your cycle are the different herbs that we can use in traditional Chinese medicine. So goji is something that's very blood building and nourishing, promoting ovulation and cushion in the uterus as well. So that's why we have ginger goji here. So I've already plated it in these cups here. The turmeric ginger broths will look like these 2 little squares. They come frozen. And you could actually just pop these little gelatin cubes right into your mug. And then the ginger tonics come in a little tea sachet bag that you can just add to your mug. And then we're going to add some hot water to it. What's nice about the gelatin broth is that gelatin, it blends in really nicely when you're using hot, steamy water. So I recommend using a tea kettle that will heat up your water. If you don't have that, you can totally use it, heat it up on the stove or also in the microwave. And then here's our tonic. In traditional Chinese medicine, warming beverages are very health promoting for qi, blood flow, and energy flow in the body. So this is why these are included on a TCM approach in our program. Okay, moving on to lunch. So you've had your breakfast, you've had either one of your broths or your tonics, and now we're moving on to lunch. Lunch is typically more warmed, you can heat it up via stove, oven, or microwave. We've tried all of the options in our meals and tested it to see which is the best, and have recommended in the instructions on how to heat it up for how long. So for the lunch, we're going to start off with the kimchi fried rice with mapo eggplant. Kimchi is really great for healthy bacteria in your gut. It's a probiotic rich food. And actually, probiotics play a really big role in how the nutrients are absorbed in your gut. The healthier your gut microbiome, the more diverse it is, the more nutrients you can actually absorb from your food. So that's a big reason why we use probiotics in our diet or in our meal plan. So to move you over here to our pan. In the instructions, you'll see you have the different options between oven, stovetop, or microwave. We're going to use stovetop today, stainless steel pans. And we're going to reheat it with avocado oil. Just look at how delicious this looks without me even touching it. They plate it so well. And I will have to say that once I unplate it, it may not look as beautiful as this. So I'm using avocado oil that does have a high smoke point, which is nice when you're reheating any kinds of food on the stovetop. We're just going to pick up that pan a little bit on the heat. And while that heats up, just wanted to walk through with you the booklet that is handed to is delivered in every box with your meals. So this will take you through what the fertility program focuses on, certain nutrients and symptoms or goals and targets. Also, there's a garnish list because we like to add flavor to our meals as much as possible, but we know that everyone has different preferences, maybe more herby, maybe more spicy, or more salty. So we actually have a garnish pack that allows you to customize your palate on with your meals. And there's a chimichurri sauce in there that I absolutely love and add to everything. And then the last piece of this booklet is your menu card. Your menu card will take you through the, Monday through Sunday if you were to order, like 7 days or 5 days or 3 days, depending on what you're using, the breakfast, lunch, and dinner options, and snacks as well, which snacks are recommended toward the end of the day, like between lunch and dinner. So oil is getting nice and warm here. Perfect for us to use to heat up our meal. And this was the kimchi fried rice with mapo eggplant, so a vegetarian dish. So shouldn't take too long to heat up. Look at all of those colors. I see purple, orange, green. So I see mushrooms. Mushrooms are a great source of vitamin D. Vitamin D is super important for your bone health, and bone health is also one of those things with relying on estrogen as women that we want to hyper focus on. And then we also have lots of vitamin A coming from our carrots, from our leafy greens. Vitamin A regulates our immune system, also helps with ovulation. Here's a big piece of that cabbage from kimchi. Kimchi is pickled cabbage with different spices, so it actually can be enjoyed cool or warm. It's mixed in here, so we're going to enjoy it warm. And then I believe this is quinoa. Let's take a quick look of what the grain is. I see white sesame seeds. Yes, quinoa. So quinoa is a great source of protein, plant source of protein as well. 2 of the meals that I've showed you so far are vegetarian, but there is the option to choose a pescatarian diet or standard, which will include beef, chicken, and even fish. So this is sizzling up a little bit, nice and warm. We could totally add a cover to evenly warm the pan, or evenly warm the meal. Any questions so far as that warms up? Great question. So olive oil typically is an oil that we would recommend for the polyphenols and the antioxidants that it contains, which is why we love using olive oil in our meals and olives even. They're super rich in those antioxidants that are anti-inflammatory. What happens with very high heat is those polyphenols or that antioxidant can actually become a little bit more radical or damaged. So you may lose out on the nutritional properties of that olive oil if it's being cooked at a very high heat. So if you're like warming something up for 3 minutes or so, very low heat, that's fine to use. That's why we don't deep fry in olive oil, because it would be too high of a heat. So moderate heat to that. If you're going any higher, I would recommend avocado oil or olive oil. I'm sorry, coconut oil. Okay, so now we're going to plate our meal. Oh my gosh, I wish you guys could smell it because it smells so good. I smell sesame seeds. I smell umami flavors from that kimchi and that mushroom mixed together. So I did warm this up on low heat, which is why it's not sticking. And I did add enough oil. Do not be afraid to add oil to your dishes, ladies. Fats are really important for making hormones. Cholesterol actually makes estrogen and testosterone and progesterone. So without enough fats and good cholesterol, we actually may hinder the hormone production process. Still looks delicious. Not as well plated as I opened it, but ready to eat in less than 5 minutes. We have about 9 minutes left, so we're going to wrap it up with our dinner and our snack options for the day, or for this week technically, because every week the menu changes with Chia. And I'm going to use a different pan just so we can keep the flavors separate. I'll show you both of the dinner options because they're delicious. Renew veggie and braised beef plate. So this is one that will have beef in it, a higher amount of protein. And then the Mandarin chicken bowl with almonds. Let's go with Mandarin chicken bowl with almonds, since we did something a bit similar to this. All right. So with the Mandarin chicken bowl with almonds, this is a dish that actually has a lot of vitamin C and calcium. Vitamin C is coming from the orange, and calcium, believe it or not, is coming from the almonds. Chia is completely gluten-free and dairy-free. So dairy-free might scare individuals if you're looking for calcium sources, but calcium can be in leafy greens and also in almonds and nuts. And so we're using a lot of that in our meals to really amplify and provide those calcium benefits for you. So this comes with a sauce, a nice little garnish. If you're allergic to nuts, we also have a nut-free option as well. So we're going to take that little mint and the orange out. And because we actually have some noodles here, the directions would instruct us to add some water to our pan to rehydrate those noodles so they don't stick to the bottom of the pan. So that's what we're going to do. Just a little bit so that gets nice and warm and nothing sticks. You can use oil, but I wouldn't mix hot oil and hot water because you get a bit of a splatter there. So we're actually going to try to separate these ingredients. More so for me to show you guys, it doesn't have to be that way. And the purple color that is coming off of the chicken is actually the anthocyanins and the polyphenols that is coming off of the cooked cabbage. That's how natural Easter egg dye is made around Easter time. What's also in here is spinach, so another great source of calcium. Vitamin C, I will say, is definitely overlooked in fertility. The stronger your immune system, and we're just going to let this reheat as we talk about the nutrients here. The stronger your immune system, the safer that your body feels. So it is recommended that if you are trying to conceive, our body, our hormones all want to feel really safe, and our body wants to be safe to take on this new role of growing a human being. So vitamin C is something that's going to really strengthen your immune system and reduce the threats or the insults of different toxins that we're exposed to. I see some questions. So yeah, Sydney, feel free to put those up as we warm up our noodle dish. Great question. Alternatives to sugar, is stevia good? So stevia is actually not a artificial sugar. So just to highlight that, I think a lot of information out there can be confusing about what is stevia. It is a plant. The only concerns with stevia is if someone has IBS or IBD and gets a bit sensitive in their digestion or like gas production and bloating, stevia can sometimes be a little bit aggravating. Allulose is another option you can look into. Monk fruit falls in that group of like stevia where it can be a little irritating. Or we can also just go with like honey and maple syrup in small amounts, never pairing sugar or carbohydrates alone. If, as you see, all of our meals here are paired with other proteins and fats to help really stabilize that blood sugar. So if we are adding sugar to something and it is a natural source, let's say honey or maple syrup, adding in fiber or protein or fat can help regulate that blood sugar. And we do need glucose, we do need carbohydrates. So that's a healthier way to approach adding sugar into your diet. Great question. Okay, great question. So estrogen, progesterone, how does it, use minerals to regulate and metabolize our cycles? So in your follicular cycle or your follicular phase, that's from day 1 to typically day 14, I will say, but that can change. It could be a day 15, 16, depending on when you ovulate. And that can actually change every cycle. But omega-3s play a huge role in like estrogen regulation and transport. And then also, I'm blanking, hold on, magnesium. That's what I was looking for, magnesium. Whereas in progesterone, which is dominant in the luteal phase, is reliant on calcium, on potassium, a little bit of magnesium as well. So the minerals that we're missing out on from nuts and seeds or legumes, if we're not eating those in our diet, we can replenish and add an abundance of those minerals back into our diet to help regulate our cycle. So if you've heard of seed cycling before, that's a big source of minerals to help regulate our diet. But we use the seeds like sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, chia, hemp. We use all of these in our meals. If not almost every day, you'll see seeds in your meals. One more question, as this is almost ready to plate, if there's any. Type of foods and snacks to best diminish fibroids and cysts. Great question. So fibroids and cysts, starting off with one concept of what might be driving the development or these to be found is inflammation. So inflammation is going to be driven by unregulated blood sugar, toxin exposure. Toxin exposure meaning like maybe your body's not able to clear out the misfolded proteins and different like environmental toxins in your diet or in your body. And then I would also emphasize a little bit more on like the liver support, and that's something that we do include actually in our hormone balance program for specifically PCOS or endometriosis. So PCOS, we focus heavily on protein and fiber because that's going to help regulate your blood sugar. So a quick breakfast example could be chia pudding with a side of scrambled eggs. Chia pudding is a great source of omega-3s, which reduce inflammation, and fiber from the chia seeds, and then protein from the eggs. And then for endometriosis, we're looking at things that will help support liver detoxification of excess estrogen. So estrogen can be built up and drive fibroids or endometriosis, even if it's a estrogen dominant issue. And so cruciferous vegetables, about 3 servings per week. Think broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, kale, arugula. Those would be really good. All right, so we're wrapping this up in the last minute of our presentation. And here's our dinner meal. This looks beautiful. The colors came right back to life with a little bit of water here. I actually will show you guys how you can garnish your meal or flavor your meal with our garnishes with this one. We're gonna put our noodles and our cabbage down first. This smells like, what would this smell like? This smells like it has a ginger. Definitely, that's what I smell in here, which complements well with the orange. I smell the orange. Speaking of that orange, we're going to take that orange and squeeze it out to add that vitamin C into our dish here. And then this is the dressing that comes with the meal. We'll throw that in. And our garnish pack, where did that go? Speaking of different seeds and reducing sodium through like not adding salt, we can actually use our Gamaso salt, which is no salt at all. It's all umami flavored seeds. So like black sesame seeds, white sesame seeds. I think there's some garlic pieces in here. And that will be our dinner meal. And last but not least, we have our snack, which this is my husband's absolute favorite. I have to hide this from him every time because he'll eat the whole bag and take it to work with him. The sesame quinoa peanut granola. So this is a great peanut buttery, salty snack without, again, that super added like salt. And then this has lots of vitamin E. Vitamin E is an antioxidant, so great for ovulation. Peanut is a great source of protein. So there's lots of, again, protein and anti-inflammation in here. And this is almost like a granola bark. You can chip at it away as you like. I'll display our meals here so you guys can see everything together. We have our breakfast, lunch, and our dinner with Chio. Super easy. In 30 minutes, I warmed up pretty much all of the meals and walked you through all of the nutrition that we emphasized for fertility. And I hope that you guys enjoyed the presentation. Any questions? I'm here for them. Great question about protein powders just popped up. So what are our thoughts on protein powders? Protein is going to be derived from either milk, so whey protein, which is known to be one of the most bioavailable, meaning easiest to absorb. Plant protein can come from pea protein, which is something that we do use in our menu. I use pea protein sometimes in our like breakfast items. I don't know if this is exactly added pea protein in our strawberry dish. I can read it and tell you guys. But as long as it's something that it's derived from a single source, I would recommend that your body would eat and feel fine in a whole food form. It's pretty much just hydrolyzed into a powder form and easier for you to take in versus having like a piece of steak or chicken in the morning. So protein powders in moderation, not as your sole source of protein every meal of the day, but to amplify your protein intake can be a really good option as long as, again, you're familiar with the ingredient and you've had that food in a whole form. A question came up here, listing foods to increase estrogen and progesterone, like what to eat from days 1 to 14 and days 14 to 28 of the cycle, any foods to include on these specific days. So going back to a little bit of that, what helps estrogen and what helps progesterone in seed cycling, some of those key nutrients. So omega-3s, we're thinking about really reducing inflammation during estrogen dominant times of your cycle, which is during your period and ovulation. Those would be in your chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, and also in your fish like salmon, sardines, anchovies, and herring are actually the top 4. We call these our smash fish. Those are not widely used in our diets, but it is recommended as the most potent source of omega-3s. And then progesterone, a lot of B6 rich foods will also increase progesterone. So that's coming from sesame seeds is one you'll see a lot in our menu because it's rich in B6. And then all of their animal proteins are super rich in B6. So like chicken thighs, chicken breast, eggs are a great source for boosting progesterone. So the question there, or the answer to that question more so, is rather than specific foods to eat at that time, look into like the nutrients that help build the estrogen and progesterone. So omega-3s, magnesium for estrogen and progesterone, like B6, selenium, potassium, calcium, those are going to be really helpful. And then look into those sources of foods and which ones that you like to include them into your diet. Thank you guys so much for your participation and your questions. This was super fun and just a makeshift presentation kitchen in my own home. This was awesome.